All right, here we are, part 3. The spectacle state and the economy of outrage. Nothing is happening, so everything becomes content. Drama is policy when policy is absent. The empty news cycle. When structural events recede and no decisive facts impose themselves, the media system does not pause, it improvises. Scarcity of news produces abundance. Abundance of commentary and significance is manufactured through repetition rather than consequence. The vacuum is filled not with analysis but with conflict. Slow cycles incentivize trivial escalation. Minor disputes are inflated into existential showdowns because attention must be farmed daily, regardless of substance. In such conditions, drama becomes a renewable resource, precisely because it does not resolve. The absence of events does not reduce output, it degrades it. What persists is motion without direction. Influencer politics. Political communication increasingly resembles entertainment programming, host, segments, cliffhangers, and reoccurring villains. The form dictates the content, not the reverse. Politics is no longer reported, it is staged. Politics is no longer reported, it is staged. Influencer politics depends on parasocial intimacy, viewers who are addressed as participants, liking, subscribing, purchasing merchandise, and joining gated communities that simulate belonging. Loyalty is monetized directly. In this regime, ideology functions as brand identity. Positions are less commitments than signals calibrated to maintain audience engagement. The drama economy. Personal feuds displace institutional critique because they are legible, emotive, and endlessly exhaustible. A disagreement between personalities generates more engagement than any discussion of debt, war, or governance. Conspiracy narratives thrive where trust collapses. They offer coherence in place of explanation, villains in place of causality, and moral clarity in place of evidence. Escalation is built into the format. Each episode must exceed the previous one in intensity, ensuring that accusation demands and expands until it consumes all available actors. Moral theater, legislative condemnation, political rebukes, and symbolic resolutions substitute for governing when governing is difficult. Moral signaling becomes the end in itself. Such gestures are performative rather than corrective. They aim not to solve problems, but to affirm alignment, drawing clear lines between friend and enemy. The spectacle reassures participants that action has been taken, even as material conditions remain unchanged. Attention's arms race. When platforms cannot suppress a figure through bans or discrediting, they escalate procedurally. Institutional response becomes another stage in the spectacle. Visibility is paradoxical. Condemnation amplifies the condemned. Attempts to marginalize can function as inadvertent promotion. Thus, power oscillates between platform governance and audience capture, with neither achieving decisive control. Merchandise as ideology. Political identity is increasingly worn, not argued. Apparel, slogans, and subscriptions translate belief into consumer choice. Low visibility symbols promise insight status. High visibility symbols promise confrontation. Both monetize affiliation. Consumption replaces organization. Purchasing becomes participation. Shadow conflict. The rhetoric of secrecy, undercover, shadow war, private chats creates the effect of struggle without its risks. It simulates resistance while remaining safely within platform rules and commercial circuits. Secrecy becomes aesthetic rather than strategic. The audience experiences intrigue without consequence. What is framed as clandestine is, in practice, algorithmically optimized. Burnout and perpetual motion. Continuous output produces exhaustion, masks a momentum. Hosts narrate fatigue while extending the cycle, promising renewal in the next season. Hiatus is framed as tactical retreat rather than depletion. The brand must signal endurance even as individual signals weariness. The calendar replaces strategy. Survival becomes the goal. Structural crisis, debt, war, industrial decline persist as background noise, while interpersonal conflict occupies the foreground. Attention is diverted without conspiracy. The system rewards diversion automatically. Audiences are invited to choose sides in disputes that do not alter outcomes. Participation satisfies affective needs while deferring material change. Politics becomes an arena for catharsis rather than decision. Soap opera state, narrative continuity. Narrative continuity matters more than resolution. Like serialized dramas, political spectacle depends on unresolved tensions to retain viewership. Characters recur, alliances shift, betrayals are teased. The audience learns to expect escalation, not clarity. Governance recedes as plot. The closed loop. Outrage feeds engagement. Engagement feeds revenue. Revenue sustains outrage. The loop is self-reinforced and indifferent to truth. Breaking the loop requires structural interruption, either decisive events or collective refusal, neither of which is incentivized. Absent interruption, spectacle persists as default mode of political life. The end condition. When politics is reduced to content, transformation becomes improbable. Systems optimized for attention resist outcomes that would end the show. Systems optimized for attention resist outcomes that would end the show. The tragedy is not deception, but displacement. Serious questions remain unanswered, while trivial conflicts proliferate. The final axiom holds. A society that confuses visibility with power will remain endlessly entertained and perpetually unchanged. I'll repeat that one. The final axiom holds. A society that confuses visibility with power will remain endlessly entertained and perpetually unchanged. Conspiracy expansion and institutional panic. On accusation drift, grief as content, and the failure of scripted authority. Conspiracies do not end, they widen. Silence becomes guilt when attention demands speech. Public relation collapses when authenticity is the currency. Modern conspiracy narratives rarely remain bounded to a single claim or actor. They begin with a plausible enemy and then expand outward by associative logic rather than evidence, absorbing proximity as culpability. Presence becomes implication. Acquaintance becomes complicity. Each failure to resolve the mystery accelerates expansion as no definitive proof arrives. The narrative compensates by adding scope, new agencies, new states, new intimates, until explanation is replaced by saturation. This drift is not accidental, it is structurally rewarded by attention systems that favor escalation over resolution. Rubicon moment. There is a threshold beyond which insinuation becomes personal violation. When conspiracy crosses from institutions to families, from colleagues to spouses, it abandons investigative posture and enters moral theater. Crossing the threshold is irreversible. Once the family is implicated, retreat reads as admission, and moderation appears strategic rather than sincere. At this point, the narrative no longer seeks truth, it seeks dominance. Grief under exposure. Public grief is incompatible with perpetual visibility. The demand to perform mourning while defending innocence forces survivors into impossible roles, dignified silence or combative rebuttal, each interpreted as evidence against them. Appeals to humanity: we are grieving, we are building, we are busy, function poorly in adversarial attention economies. Empathy competes badly with accusation. Grief, once instrumentalized, loses protective force. It becomes another register of content. Institutional response failure. Organizations trained for messaging rather than confrontation falter under sustained attack. Public relations assume good faith. Conspiracy assumes total bad faith. The mismatch is fatal. Inconsistent strategies: silence one day, indignation the next, signal uncertainty. Audience interpret inconsistency as concealment. Refusal to name the accuser preserves decorum but sacrifices clarity. Avoidance reads as fear. Choreographed authenticity. Calculated sincerity is perceptual. Viewers detect the difference between spontaneous conviction and rehearsed posture, even when the content overlaps. When statement cycles through generic appeals, family, humanity, duty, honor, without strategic coherence, they appear as interchangeable scripts rather than lived response. Authenticity cannot be simulated indefinitely. The longer the performance continues, the thinner it becomes. The accuser's advantage. The accuser controls tempo. Daily repetition overwhelms periodic response, establishing narrative dominance regardless of accuracy. Refutation struggles against volume. Every implausible claim gains traction through persistence. In such conditions, truth is not defeated by lies but by fatigue. The business-political hybrid. Organizations that operate simultaneously as ideological movements and revenue-generating enterprises suffer credibility erosion under pressure. Financial incentives complicate moral claims. Audiences intuit opportunism even without proof. Cynicism becomes the default interpretive frame. When belief appears instrumental rather than intrinsic, every defense is discounted as brand protection. Insider suspicion. Heterogeneous coalitions invite internal mistrust. Proximity to power, media, or lobbying interests become grounds for suspicion rather than legitimacy. The presence of careerists alongside ideologues blurs motives. Observers assume the least charitable explanation. Once suspicion hardens, innocence is no longer exculpatory. It is merely unproven guilt. Victimhood saturation. Simultaneous claims to strengthen and victimhood undermine each other. Declaring resilience while requesting sympathy produces tonal dissonance. Audiences resist being instructed on how to feel. Moral direction provokes backlash. Victimhood, like outrage, has diminishing returns. Indecision is itself a strategy, but is rarely effective under sustained attack. Waiting for the storm to pass allows the narrative to metastasize. Partial engagement satisfies no constituency. Silence alienates supporters. Engagement amplifies critics. It Eventually, avoidance forces confrontation on the worst possible terms. There comes a point where direct confrontation is the least costly option. Clear denials, named accusers, and defined claims impose boundaries on narrative drift. Clarity does not guarantee victory, but ambiguity guarantees erosion. Institutions survive conflict by choosing a posture, not by improvising one. The spectacle's verdict. In attention-driven conflict, effectiveness outweighs truth in the short term. The side that appears coherent gains advantage. Organizations that mistake decorum for authority misunderstood the medium they inhabit. The final axiom holds: when accusations become content, only decisive structure, not sentiment, halt the spiral.